everybody, Glenn, Red Dog Motorsports. We are back out in the shop for another project. This is actually a round 2 project for myself. There is a previous video, I put it down in the description below, in which we put a V8 transmission and whatnot in this one. And it is now back for an ACES FI Killshot installation, as well as a couple of suspension mods that we want to do in the front just to make it drive a little better. And that's really kind of about it. The goal is fix that, make it a daily driver, and get it to do a couple of good burnouts so we can return it to the owner and he can start driving it. We'll also go through and get together a list of everything we need to do to reinstall heat and AC in the vehicle. But that's a very minor part. What we're really going to focus on is the ACES system. So let me show you where we're at. All right, right now the owner had started the install and we're pretty far along. We've got the fuel injection systems all mounted to the intake. We've got some of the wiring is in. We've got the fuel relay, the main relay, main harness fuse. We got some of the wires ran inside. We still have a fair bit to connect. Not all of these get used, but a few more of them do. None of the plug wires are connected to the distributor. Fuel pressure sender's not hooked up. The fuel pressure regulator's here, but we don't have the vacuum reference to it. The coil's not connected. It's not even installed. We've got, this is our fuel pressure system, whatnot. We are connected to the battery, so we do have power going to the system. We've got a couple other things that need to be checked. I don't know where we're at in the firing cycle, so we're going to first get things set at top dead center, or 15 degrees before, really, at top dead center, and then we're going to make sure that the distributor is stabbed in correctly before we get too far with any of the other things. From there, we will work on connecting we'll get our coil installed, we'll get all of the other connections made. Oops, sorry. We'll get our coil installed, we'll get all our other connections made, and then we can start seeing about getting this thing to fire up. I know the fuel pump's in it. He said he was having trouble getting it to operate, so I don't know if we've got a bad ground or what. We'll have to look into it. On the interior, he already has the gauge pod installed. We do have to install the gauge itself and get the wiring run out through the firewall and whatnot. We got some boxes of parts in here. It's really not much left though. So we should be able to make this hopefully a fairly short video. Here's the old system. This is the old fuel pump, the old carburetor setup that was here. Here's the old HEI distributor. Those old valve covers. We won't be using the old air cleaner. I think we're going to be using the new one that's in here somewhere. Oh, it's right here. I think we're using this one. There's his old tack, but I think we're going to be using the gauge now. One of the things I like, I don't know if this came with the kit or if he bought it, but if it came with the kit, really nice little unit. I like this. I might have to try to get me one of these. But we're going to get started on it, and I will let you know as we get going what else we got. But first, let me get in and get the motor set to top dead center, 15 degrees before. Sorry, I said it again. And once we're at that point, we can start with the install of all the rest of the wiring. All right, let me show you where I'm at. So if we look, here's number 1 cylinder. We follow it up. There's our rotor. Throw a little light on the subject here. And if you follow it down, you see the little blue thing. If we move it to the side, right underneath the wheel is one of the little contacts to let it know, the stator or whatever. So All of that should be right there. We can bolt that down now. We'll bolt that distributor down, get it tight. Our timing should be close. It should at least be close enough for the computer to start working with it. So with that done, I'm going to get that locked down. We can get the cap on it. I'm going to get all of the plugs in the proper order.
Went down to that river, washed my sins away. Pray, 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 and pray for another day. I went down to that river, washed my sins for free. The devil's on the other bank.
Alright, as you can see in the time lapse, I got to cleaning up wires. I got the distributor basically set up in the proper firing order. And then I actually got a little lost just getting things layered in here a little bit better. What I'm trying to do with that is I want all of my basically high voltage wires separated from my sensor wires. So I'm laying my sensor wires down along the valley beside the valve covers. I'm trying to make sure that they are separated from what will be our coil wires and some of that. We don't want dirty and clean power interrupting each other as much as possible. Just helps prevent crosstalk and all that good stuff. So got that basically set up. Now what I need to do is start going through and making sure, you know, here's my coil connection. I've got the distributor connection, which should also go to the coil. We've got some vacuum lines that need to be connected. We've got a reference that needs to be connected to it, to the fuel pressure regulator. We need the modulator on the 350 to be connected to vacuum. We've got the main vacuum line going to the booster. All the vacuums over here we've got metered and a 3/16 full vacuum, so we'll get that connected to here for the transmission, and then I believe this crate gets full vacuum as well. We'll get it connected. I do have to do something to mount or something for the coil so that we can get it located back in this area somewhere over in here. I don't believe it has a very long coil wire. CAN bus, that's going to the screen, so we got to run the screen wire out through the firewall and up. And then I've got some of those wires need to be connected. Those are all basically reference signals that capture information from the motor in one location or another so that the computer can handle timing and fuel. All right, guys, update time. What was, what is, and what will be. So up top here, I think we've already kind of covered. Got pretty much everything buttoned up. I need to go through and zip tie things. We got one wire in here that we're going to grab, and then we'll get it all tucked away, but that's the fuel sending, and I need to know what wire in the harness to grab to get it from back at the tank up here. So we're going to have to do a little research on that. Have to build a bracket to put the coil somewhere right in here, and then we got to make the wire that goes from here over to there. Otherwise, up top is about done. I think we're going to go through and this time we're going to loom everything up and whatnot. We'll need to eventually start going through and determining where the wires are that go down. Sorry, this bundle right in here, I need to know which ones control all of the AC stuff. So we'll have to look that up, but eventually we're going to be grabbing those wires and getting an AC and heat system put back in this thing. We're in Florida. AC is kind of mandatory. You can go without heat for the most part. Much harder to go without AC. It can be done, but it's just not real pleasant. If you have a professional job, showing up sweaty all the time, it's just not really down with it. And driving around with the windows down when it's raining cats and dogs also is not that cool. So those are things we're going to get into here after a bit. But for right now, what I need to do is we've got the fuel pump all wired. I had to switch some stuff around to make sure that it was going the correct direction. It is now pumping everything up top. I verified it. I just used one of my M12 batteries off the Milwaukee and plugged it in. We know that that's working. We're getting fuel pressure up here. Now what we need to do is the O2 sensor. So let me take you down below and show you what we got. Look at this nice exhaust system. All right, so the owner was putting the O2 sensor in over here, and it's not a good place. And the reason is it's only going to get a reading off of the right bank, not going to get a reading off of both banks. So you're not going to get an average. This is a wide band, not a narrow band. So we need a good average. So we need to collect it somewhere after the Y. So it needs to either be here, or even better would be back here. And I think this is where we're going to go. I've got some bungs coming, and we're going to weld it in and then bolt it in there. So reason is we want to make sure we're a little bit back from where everything kind of meets up. You don't want to be too close, too much turbulence, things like that. You want a nice, good, smooth flow. I also want to try to make sure that if there's any air getting pulled in from that joint right in front of us, that this one here, that we can eliminate that as much as possible. All right, guys, let's talk a little bit about the what was, what is, and what will be. So right now we are still waiting, or not still waiting. We are waiting. Got everything basically done. I've got some power problems with the relays. I'll show you that in a second. But I did get underneath. We did weld in the bung for the O2 sensor. Got it back beyond where the Y is, so it's getting a reading from both banks. And then I went ahead and did a patch for the hole that the owner had put in it for the clamp that was supplied with the system. Where it had been accidentally placed in only one bank. So all that's been corrected. We're done underneath. The O2 sensor is connected into the system. Still need to zip tie up all the wires, but I don't want to do any of that until we know what's going to come from ACES fuel injection, or EFI, ACES EFI, what their answer is on the problem and what we need to do. If I have to pull the harness and send it back to them to be fixed, I don't want to be cutting a bunch of zip ties. Otherwise, I have the parts coming to make some new upper control arms. We're going to cut off these mounts, move them over a ½ inch or so outboard on each side, and make some new control arms that have a little bit of a bend to them. We'll utilize all the same mounts, just new control arms, and outboard them a little bit so that we clear the headers, and that will resolve our suspension issue. As for heat and AC, I took a look at the diagrams, and all of the power to the system is correct. So the fan works and everything when you turn the vehicle on. The vacuum system, I just had to connect it to vacuum. So right now the heat does work once the engine's running. As for AC, we do have to get in here and get to a couple of the trigger wires for the AC. And we have to get a new serpentine belt system. So not sure what we're going to use for that, but we will wait and see. We'll get with the owner and see where he's at money-wise and whatnot for all of the front end system and which one he wants to go with. And then from there, some decisions will be made, and maybe we install it, maybe we don't. But for now, at least he does have heat. So with that, I'm going to get set up, and I'll show you what I've got on the relay system. All right, so hold on. All right, guys, so we're set up. And what I have is I've got the main relay, I got the pump relay, And these are just 4-pin systems. One is a ground on the trigger side, one is power on the trigger side. I've got power in and power out. When the relay trigger pulls down, it operates the electromagnetic side of the relay, and then power will flow from the main power in to the main power out. So what I should have normally is I should have 12 volts at the red, which in this case trigger, which is down below, and I should have 12 volts at, say, power in. So 2 should always have power when the key is on, and 2 should not. One should go to ground, and the other should go to, in this case, it should go to the fuel pump relay, if I read things correctly. But right now, what I have is I have 12.8 volts on power in. I got 12.81, 82 on the trigger signal, and I have 11.57 on the power out, which doesn't seem right. And then I've got nothing on the ground side, which is correct. I shouldn't have anything on that one. I should have go to ground as long as the ECM, which it is telling it to go to ground. If I turn the key off, that should not be in ground. All right. Then we move to the fuel pump relay. And on this one, we'll turn it so it's the same as the other one. All right. So now we're the same as the other one. This is my trigger ground, trigger power, power out, power in. And so I should have power on these two, but not these two. And I have no power, no power, no power. Oh, no, wait, I got 2 volts. So my ground has voltage going to it, and I have no power to any of the others. If I check to ground, I got nothing going to ground. Oh, wait. One of my power wires is going to ground. I guess if that one's my orange, that may be correct. That's going to my fuel pump. So that is possibly correct. And then no ground on my ground signal. So it's not being commanded by the ECM to operate the fuel. Now it is possible that's because we're past the time system. So let me go adjust the key, and then we'll see if that one doesn't do it in the first 5 seconds. You guys will have to watch. Let me see if I can set this up to stay on. There we go. All right, y'all watch it. Key off. Key on. And see, it should flash. It should give me a 5-second prime, and I'm not getting a 5-second prime. All right, well, we're waiting on ACES to get a response so that we know what we need to do over on the red XJ, and I'm waiting on the parts for the suspension and answers from the owner. I have decided to work on the buggy. Specifically, I'm redoing my fan relay system. I've been having trouble since I built this thing of burning out relays for a variety of different reasons. I'm tired of it. So I'm getting rid of everything that came with the painless wiring system, and we're going to a little bit more robust system. So these are going to be my fuses. So we'll have main power in. This will be the fan 1. This will be the fan 2. And I'll come in, and then I'm just going to loop across on the power side. And then we'll have power out. It'll go to one side of, this is fan 1 down here, solenoid. So power out to the solenoid, power out to the solenoid. And then from here, these two, I hope you can see those behind there. These two will go to the fans themselves. So this will be power out to the fan in the front. This is my main fan. And this will be power out to the fan in the back that runs my transmission cooler in the back. And these will be my triggers right here. So I have an option on fan 1. It is turned on by the ECM. So this side goes to the ECM, and the other side will be power, just power all the time. And then I have the option, I can set this one up that way, wherein I would run a ground, and then it would be triggered by the key. And I may do that, or I may put it back to the ECM. I haven't decided yet. But at this point, I built a bracket or a panel, got everything installed. This relay, in case you're curious, is my horn relay. Power's off right now, but I moved it, got it installed. So now what I need to do is come up here. This is part of the fan 1 relay. Fan 1 relay goes through multiples. It goes through this one, it comes down, it goes through this one, and then it goes out, and it goes to the fan 2 relay. And I had it all set up at one point, trying to do a soft start on the Taurus fan that's up front and all that, and it just isn't working. So we're going to get rid of all that and just make the system work like a more conventional system. So I didn't bore you with any of the install. I will get all of my wires taken out and figure out where they need to go, and then we will start getting them reconnected. But that's what we're working on today. All right, everyone, let me show you where I'm at. So I've got the basics wired up. We still need to do the triggers. This is fan 1, I think. Yeah, this is fan 1 ECM trigger, fan 2 ECM trigger. So these will be negatives or grounds. These will go to ground. So I still need to take and run power to this side of the solenoid, the trigger side. And what I'll do is on fan 1, I'll grab power and we'll put it to the fan 1 side. We'll grab power from here and put it to the fan 2 side. And then the negative or the ground of the ECM will connect to this side. Then the ECM will control it by engine coolant temperature. But for right now, I've got power from a lug, basically a battery, basically the battery, I should say, to the inside of the fuse. These are the fuses. They're a 50 amp. And then we go out from the fuse to the solenoid on both of them. And then from the other side of the solenoid, we go, here's the fan 1, here's fan 2. We go out through the wiring to the respective locations. And we can trigger them right now. I just got me one of the Milwaukee 12 volts. And if we close the relay, fan 1 turned on, or fan, yeah. And there's fan 2 on high. And that'd be that. It's basically finished. I just, I'll make up a couple of wires, make those connections, and my fan problem should be over. Good to go. All right, guys. What was, what is, and what will be. So, kind of switch gears a little bit and put aside the motor for now. I really need to talk to ACES again. I can't determine why the fuel pump is not being triggered by the ECM, as I mentioned before. So at any rate, we're going to move to redoing the suspension items. And you really just can't beat gravity in a simple piece of string. But basically what I've done is taped it up here. I've aligned it with the center of the axle. I wrote some degree measurements down. We've done this on both sides. You can see the angle finder's still down there. And what I'm doing is we are going to remove, we're not going to remove it, I should say. We're going to remove it and put it back. But the upper control arm mounts, we're going to move them over a little bit so that they clear the exhaust under compression. Try to show you this here. But if you look right up through here, a little more light maybe, yeah. So here's the mount, there's the exhaust. It needs to be over like here. Not a whole big difference, but enough. So let me take you over to the table and I'll show you what we got. All right, here at the table, this is the stock mount, or stock control arm I should say, and it's just stamped steel. They're actually pretty flimsy. Using just hand strength in my arms, I can actually put a little bit of twist in it, so not super strong. I bought some bushings. These are fabricated bushings. I bought these from Barnes 4-wheel drive, and then I bought their XJ, YJ, or TJ, not TJ. I think these are used on, maybe they are used on TJs as well. But at any rate, these are the upper link mounts for the Dana 30 axles, like similar to this one. And I'm just going to take a piece of probably 1.1 inch and come off of this and go to that and just weld it on. But it's going to let me move the mount and then make sure that the link clears, and I'm not putting stress on this joint by moving it over out of alignment. Just make sure that this alignment in with the bolt and bushing, all that stays good, and we don't have it twisted like that on the bolt, because that just will cause wear. So we'll make sure everything's nice and straight on the bushings, and then I can weld the internal piping tubing at an angle, and everything will be copacetic. So just need to get under there now. I need to cut off that one side, and then we'll need to get a measurement on how long our control arm needs to be, do some welding, and we are back in business. So let me get on that, and I will show you. Oh, one other change. So the bushings that came with these, the interior bushing or sleeve, is for a 1/2 inch bolt, a little bit larger. I have some other material around that I'm going to use. I got to cut it down, bevel the edges, that kind of thing. But this takes a 3/8 bolt, same diameter, outer diameter is what's here. So that'll solve my problem. These will go into the pile for use later on in a different project, but I'll be able to use all the same bolts for the most part as what's there. This thing's not ever going off-road. It's 2-wheel drive. So this will be way stronger than these, and will give us the clearance we need. So let's get. So we've been getting a little bit done. Most importantly, welder cart is on its new wheels, and man, does it move nice. I've been struggling with this thing for years. It's always been kind of a pain to move. Never really thought about it much. But now with these better wheels on it, I can move it around one-handed. My son will probably be able to move it. It's that much better. And here, when they were completely broken, it took 2 men to move it and drag it across the floor. But so glad that's fixed. That's going to make life in the shop much easier. But take you down underneath. Sorry about the movement. We have the mount has been cut off, and I have it tacked into place. We moved it over just about 1 inch is what that came out to be. And now what I'm getting ready to do, I have measured, and so with moving it over, as I expected, needs to be a little bit longer of a control arm. This one is 15 inches center line to bolt hole, and this new one's going to have to be 15 1/4 from bolt hole to bolt hole. So I'm going to go ahead and see about getting all this cut. We'll get things in place, all that good stuff. I got to get the sleeves cut, and don't know that I'm going to need to bend. I think we're going to be able to go with just a straight piece and maybe just a little bit of a angle cut on the ends. But yeah, it's coming together. I should have the first one done. I probably have them both done if it hadn't been for having to stop and mess with the welding cart. But we'll get this done, and then we'll be able to focus on getting it running and get it out of here. All right, so got the driver's side bracket welded on, and I've got the driver's side upper control arm welded together. Got to let it cool before I can install the bushing and install it in the vehicle, but I got something to show you. Some days are better welding days than others. So this is actually coming out pretty good. Got to clean it. I haven't done any of that yet. Probably throw a little bit of paint on it, or I should. But not too shabby. So we'll get the this one in. I'll probably install both of them and then have to pull them back out and paint them. I need this one in there when I take the other one out, just to keep things from shifting around a whole lot too much, really. And then yeah, we should be good to go. So it's about, I'm gonna call it a day. I got some stuff I need to do on the computer. We'll get out here bright and early tomorrow. We'll finish up the control arms, get into the motor issue. I think I'm gonna swap the battery out. I think I'm having some voltage issues. The battery doesn't hold charge real long. It's almost 3 years old, so who knows? It's been drained, I know, a couple of times to completely dead, because it was completely dead, I want to say, both times I got the vehicle. So I'm sure it's been dead several other times, and that's hard on a battery. So we'll swap that out, see where that gets us, get a hold of ACES to find out about the ECU issue. It may be corrected, it may just be a low voltage problem, I don't know. But we'll get all that, and then we should be able to get it running and start getting it tuned. So let's get on it. Well, everybody, she runs. Still don't, the ECM will not start the fuel pump on its own. I got to get a hold of ACES to find that out. Otherwise, we seem to be working properly. Getting ready to go on her test drive. We'll see how she does. Haven't driven this thing since we put it together the first time. So, yeah, she went into gear. That's a good sign. She's low on tranny fluid or something. We're gonna have to check the transmission fluid. You got to rev it up to make it move. So let me check that real quick, and then maybe we'll go for a test drive. We were 3 quarts low, and but got everything filled up. Doing a little better now. There we go. Well, she drives. That's good. Kind of a little disappointed that we're having trouble with the fuel pump relay. Ooh, she's rattling. That lean. Running lean. Fuel pressure's really low. Reading low. Yeah, really bad valve chatter. I don't know, something's not right, I think, with the fuel pump. Based upon, I mean, I'm down to 10. Did I just run out of fuel? I hear it running. I may have ran out of fuel. Oops. Haha. I just ran it out of fuel. Alright, well, I'm going to park it here. Go get some fuel. Try this again. Walk of shame. Can't believe I ran it out of fuel. Well, at least that's an easy fix.
Staring back at me, I'm a dead man walking.
Well, look at that. We're up there. We got 56, 57 PSI. So working much better now. We'll see if we still get valve rattle or not. Probably not. Shouldn't ping. Nope. Sounds much better. Oh, no, it still is. Wonder what that's up about. Is it actually the valves? Or something else? learning though. Probably gonna have to drive it around a little bit, see what we get. So I'm gonna do that, and then we'll see what we get. See if that pinging goes away. All right, so fuel pressure has steadily declined. I don't know if you guys can hear it. I can. Fuel pump's making god-awful racket. I don't know what's going on in there, so I'm going to have to pull it out, take a look. I'm down to 30 psi. It's barely holding 30 psi. We just put 5 gallons, and I went less than a mile, so can't be out of fuel. I mean, I suppose it could be, but I don't think it is. But gonna have to see what's up with that. We got another fuel pump here. Maybe we'll put that one in and see what's up. But something's wrong. Let's figure it out. I don't know if I've introduced her yet or not. Hey, Dakota. This is our new Mascot, Dakota. We've had her for about a month, I guess. She's a little Jack Russell female. She was named at the breeder. They called her Red. We've renamed her to Dakota, but as you can see, she's got a little bit of brown on her. Red is known. She's a good little girl. She's learning. She's feisty. So, you'll see her in lots more of our videos. Ain't that right, girl? Hmm? Yeah. Yeah. Alright, hopefully you guys can hear me. This thing's real bad, this camera, real bad about picking up background noise. Changed the fuel pump out. Much quieter now. It's putting out a steady 50. What I don't understand is inside the fuel pressure is now reading 938.2 psi. Here, sorry. I don't know why. So I'm gonna have to try to figure that out. And then let's take it for a test drive. Test trip, see what we get. Alright, so it drives fine. Can't tell what the fuel pressure's doing, but since it's not dying, it must be okay. Still getting, it's either really bad valve rattle or the injectors in the ACES system are super loud. I think what we're going to do is go back and check all the valve flash, make sure that we're good there. I'm getting, looks like 40 psi on the oil pressures. So if the valve lash is loose, it's not because of the lifters. It's going to be just lash isn't tight enough. You guys should be able to hear that. It's pretty bad. Otherwise, it seems to be driving fine. Goes back to idle like it's supposed to. Yeah, I don't know if that's valve or something else. Doesn't really look like we're hitting too lean. I mean, when we chop the throttle, we do, but that's normal. You should see that. You're letting a bunch of air in there with no fuel. Otherwise, it's sitting pretty much about 13 and a half, 14. I don't know. I don't think it's a timing issue. It could be, I suppose. Doesn't act like a timing issue, though. I ran my hat over. Nice. Alright, let's see what we got. Alright, so the way this works, we're going to do a couple of things. One, we're going to have to knock this pin out right here and take this gear off. There's a couple of bushings and stuff here we got to make sure to not lose and to reinstall. And then we've got to come up here and undo this nut right here. And what you can see is right now the rotor, all of this can move as these weights here, the centrifugal weights, go out. Now, it used to be when you worked with these, you could change these springs out so that it had a, you know, if you did a lighter spring, it would have a faster advance curve. And then you could change this piece out, or actually take that back. You change these out, and they had different angles on them to give you different curves. And so you could change the speed and how they advance and all that stuff, so you could adjust your timing curve. And that's how you built what in today's world we do with a timing table. So it was all pretty advanced for a mechanical system. But what we're going to do is we're going to undo that bolt, or that nut rather, take all that off. We'll slide the shaft up, rotate it 180 degrees, and that will put that pin into that hole, or it should put it in that hole. Yep, it'll put it into that hole. With that one locked into there, then all of these mechanical pieces won't be able to move anymore because they won't be in the slot. And once they're not in there, then we'll set it back in, adjust all of this to hit on the phasing. And that's where our adjustable rotor comes in, because the adjustable rotor then allows us to align where the rotor and the cap to make sure that we're hitting right at number 1 when we fire. So hopefully it all lines up and we don't have to get an adjustable rotor and we're good. We'll find out. All right, distributor's in. Here, our rotor there is pointing at our number 1 cylinder right here. We are going to take the little blue thing right there. You can't really see it, but we're aligning it with one of the magnetic pickups. And then I have marked on the distributor base a little mark here, the white one. It's in line with that, and when we put the cap on, our number 1 cylinder should line up with that white mark. And that's where the adjustable rotor comes in. If it doesn't line up with that exactly, then we'd have to put an adjustable rotor on it, and then that adjustable rotor will have like 7 degrees alignment that we can adjust and then tighten up so that it aligns exactly. And then from there, the computer will control timing. So that's what we're working on. All right, that concludes this week's video. She works, she runs. We will do a little looming on the wire. We're going to turn the ACES system back over to ACES so they can troubleshoot why the relay's not working for the pump. But otherwise, I think it's going to be a little bit, and then it'll come back in. We'll get all the AC. We need a new serpentine belt system, and then we can get all that going. But she's a ripper now. So thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.